Hi, I'm Cheryl Pia.
And I'm Cliff Pia, and we are sharing our journey with you that we have just started about 2 weeks ago. Honestly, we built a company and sold it, and instead of jumping right back in, which is what we would normally have done, we're consciously taking a break to create a different kind of life. Okay, so this is day one of our resignation, our starting of the next thing, our letting go of the old thing, because yesterday was our last day at work.
23 years working together, working in the same business, building it, growing it, going through so many ups and downs, lots more ups than downs, really, and making the decision post-COVID to move on and do something different, and we don't know what it is. We're allowing ourselves some space to think about what's next and getting ready to go on trip of a lifetime.
Yeah, so in a few days, we're actually going to be heading to Europe, and we will be obviously taping along the way because we're trying to keep track of how this feels for us and for our kids and for any of our friends that are thinking about doing the same thing. Because a lot of people, after realizing what their priorities are after COVID, are thinking about this kind of thing. But it's really scary to take a leap when you don't know what's next, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, we gave notice quite some time ago, and that day is burned in my memory because I was absolutely terrified that I was making the wrong decision, that we were leaving something that was unknown and a good paycheck and consistency for really a leap into the void. For the last 4 months, really, we've gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot, and I know both of us have gone through a lot.
Some sleepless nights, worrying about what's coming. Leaving a job with a good paycheck in itself is a scary thing to do, because what's next? You don't know if you're going to be able to afford it. But at some point, the pain becomes more than the pleasure of the money, and you start realizing we need to be doing something that really resonates with our insides, with our guts and our hearts. It has to be, led by that and not just the money. Yes, it's important that you definitely need to have enough money to pay your basic bills, but life is only so many hours and so many weeks, and you got to make the most of it. So we're going to try this next thing and figure out how to live on less money, live on what we have, maybe even learn how to start another company and build another business, maybe in another country, maybe in another way, and maybe with less overhead, which is another thing we learned from COVID. You really don't need a lot of office space anymore. So that's what we're going to try, and let's see how it goes.
We've had tremendous support from our family, from our friends, and from our employees, who have been really amazingly lovely about us leaving, even though this puts them in an uncertain situation too. But all across the board, everyone recognizes we need a break. We deserve a break. We really earned it. We've worked really hard and dedicated our lives to building this company, dedicated our lives to our employees. And it's time for us to really do what gets us excited and really moves us closer to happy. And I think that's the ultimate goal. And I think that's why we see so many people resigning from their jobs, the whole great resignation thing. Even though I think our situation's slightly different than that, I still think we're part of it. And I think it was absolutely triggered by the time at home during COVID and the recognition of what's important and who's important, and doing things that make a difference, because you do only have so much time in your life. So here we are.
Here we go. And so far, the first day's been great, by the way. We had breakfast and, pretty normal. So far, so good. And we're going to take it from here. And, the great news is in the very beginning, there's nothing that's changed at all, because, it's the freaking weekend. So we don't really have anything different than a normal time. Come Monday, come Tuesday, getting on a plane Wednesday, waking up in Europe Thursday. That's when I think things are going to start feeling a little different. And of course, as time goes on and you start realizing that I have no emails, therefore, nobody's asking for anything. Nobody's validating our existence from a work standpoint. And that's going to be, I think, and this is what's kind of crept into our lives, into our psyche over the last 4 months. What's it going to be like when nobody's asking you for anything and nobody's giving you validation that you're important to them, that your opinion matters to them? There's going to probably be a couple of moments of, well, what am I worth then? And who am I if I don't have my job title and my paycheck and my employees and people and adulation from clients? What are we then? So I think that's going to be the biggest awakening for us, is to figure out what that is. And I know, we all know, that's healthy to find that out, because there's no way that you should be identified with your career and expect to not have a lot of bumps in the road later on when your career falters, or you get fired, or you get laid off, or you figure out that you want to move on to another thing.
We've all been conditioned to be on the hamster wheel and really identify with our work and identify our value through our work. And at the end of the day, we all know that's not really true.
But if you have an alternative, or if there's a way that you can do things on your own terms, of course, it's what everyone wants. And we're not saying that it's easy to do this. Portugal is one of the places we're going on this trip, and it's got the most expats from America of any country. So we're going to be probably running into a lot of other people that have done this. And we're going to talk to them too and get their 2 cents on this, because I think that'll be a lot more interesting than talking to us the whole time. And I really think that there's insights that we're going to start seeing patterns of, about how people, what they went through to disconnect. So, yeah,
I think it's going to be a journey, because, right, we've identified so closely with our work. And even when we traveled, we always were checking emails. We were always calling in to make sure it
and
was...
having conference calls from everywhere in the world. We never really had a vacation with no work. I don't think.
No,
the
we
whole
didn't.
time.
Well, because even if we didn't have a conference call or anything, we were talking about it.
Yeah,
we were
thinking about
always
it.
talking about it or thinking about it. We brought it home, like you're not.
Now we're
supposed
always
to.
going to talk and think about not working. And that'll be the thing we're talking about, which is, by the way, we're trying not to do that, because that's making this a job. This is not a job. This is a disconnection from a job. It's a reorganizing of your thoughts. So yes, we're going to habitually do things like that. And we're going to find ourselves in the middle of the night talking about these videos, or talking about, well, let's try this idea. Well, this startup just approached us, and that's interesting. And I have this idea for a business, or you have an idea for a business. Maybe we should think about that. And knowing us, we'll actually start doing that. So we're gonna have to stop ourselves and say, no matter what, we promised to do nothing for X amount of time except experience, like everything that's going on, even the uncomfortable stuff. So we know that's coming, and we have to hold ourselves accountable to that.
That's true. I think, one of our strategies to kind of break the patterns was to plan this trip and go for an extended period of time. And so, yes, Monday morning we're going to wake up. It's a Saturday right now. Yesterday was our last day. Monday morning we're going to wake up. It's going to feel weird, but we have a lot of things to do to get ready for our trip.
Yeah.
And
we're easily distracted right now because of a trip. So it's not really fair, because we're not going to, I think the reason we planned this trip actually is really to avoid the thing that I was just talking about.
100%.
About waking up Monday morning with nothing to do except be in your home. So yeah, this was our little distraction.
And it's distraction, but I think
that's a purposeful distraction.
With the intention of breaking the patterns and being in a country we've never been in, and going to places we've never been, and going for an extended period of time with no work obligations, which is completely bizarre for us.
Yeah.
More than anything, it's exciting. I expected to wake up today and have a lot more sadness. And I think I've kind of gone through that because we gave notice so long ago. I think I've gone through a lot of the sadness, and I just woke up this morning really excited about the possibilities and sort of the clean slate in front of us.
Right. So this is our attempt at getting a little closer to happy, because we wanted to move on from what we did and go towards something that is even better. So that's what this is all about. So day 1, wrapping up. Day 2 coming up. So we'll talk to you later. Thanks.